Namaste and welcome to Nepal Next. It is my pleasure to have an amazing personality with me today. I'm always inspired by the way she works and her work ethics. She's the president of the Hotel Association of Nepal, a hotelier herself with the Annapurna group of hotels, which has been a pioneer in the hospitality sector of Nepal with 54 years of existence. It's a pleasure to welcome Ms. Shreejana Rana with me today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here in this program hosted by somebody I consider beauty with brains. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Azo. So, now the pandemic is something, getting right to the question, the pandemic is something that none of us really expected to last this long as well. We didn't see it coming, and now with the second wave, things are looking a bit dark as well. One of the hardest hit industry has to be the hospitality and tourism sector, especially in a country like ours, where tourism is a priority or top priority. How prepared do you think the hospitality sector was for a crisis like this?
Not at all, because 2019 had been a very good year with nearly 1.20 million tourist arrival, and there we were all prepared for the 2020
visit Nepal
year with expecting 2 million tourists to come into Nepal. So it came as a very, very big blow to us. So it was very disappointing and a huge challenge, of course.
What is something that currently worries you the most?
My worry is first, of course, it's not the first time that Nepal has gone through, this is of course a global crisis, but the earthquake, during the earthquake also was an equally big challenge for us, and that also that also passed by.
Right.
So, I always feel nothing is there to stay for
right.
too long. And then, we had that positive attitude, how to go forward. And we thought this won't go for too long. By 2020 end, things will be all right. But then it has really, really hit us hard, knowing that even 2021, there is no way that we are going to bounce back. So that, of course, is a very big challenge. Secondly, what my worry is, apart from, the pandemic, like we all know that how to look into Nepali matter, we had, work on this line called Afu pani bachau ra bachau bhanne, So, we came to a very good understanding with the employees. So we have worked on how to save the industry, and that has worked out very well, which I'll come later when you ask me further questions. But, main worry was, how to Vyavasthapan, Karmachariko Vyavasthapan was a very big issue. And then, of course, now how do we repay the bank? How do we do the work on the interest? Those were very worrisome. And gradually we started working with the government. We started working with the concerned ministries, and we survived. 2020, somehow we managed. But then again, 2021 issue is here, and we need to work on that.
So like you just rightly mentioned, business continuity is a big word, so what does business continuity mean for hotel industry, where hotels, a lot of their operations are being paralyzed, having to lay off employees or even keep employees at 100% part-time?
Right.
So what is happening with that?
So like we talked about, that we came to a good understanding with the employees. So with a very minimum salary, we came to an understanding that we have to save the industry 2021. So in fact, actually, we have been a very big example in Nepal, an industry where employer and employee have come together to work into the possibility of saving the industry. So that was a huge challenge that we faced. So that has worked out quite well. And of course, we talked about the government, coming in, we need to hold hands and move forward, because this is not only the problem of the investors, but is a country ke economy line affect gareko. So we have to come together, work together, and move forward. So that was that the question?
Yes, somewhat related to that. Also, so there are a lot of like Annapurna Hotel, being one of the oldest hotels of the country, is also now sort of closed temporarily. What is actually happening with the hotel? And
right, so there's the issues are between the old hotels and the new hotels.
Right.
The new hotels, of course, have opened with employees who are very freshly trained in the
Correct.
subject, like the hotel management Porera Bakkar, they've joined. Where the old hotels have inherited a lot of old staffs. So of course, one of the arrangement which the old hotels have come about is if they want to leave the job, we have to pay what they deserve. Not only what they did, what we owe them, we have to clear all that. But then, the surprising thing is what I realize is these people who have actually resigned from the hotel knowing that it's going to take a long time and they were impatient and they wanted to try something different, they've actually come up as now entrepreneurs. So, they've started their own home-based,
bakeries or businesses.
Yeah, and that has really been quite interesting to see that, there are options when you are willing to work hard, when you have that attitude, when you know how to go about and you are good at what you are doing, there's always a door opening, right? So that was something quite encouraging.
So these are individually like people who were a part of the hospitality sector, even if the temporary situation is not in favor, they've moved on to become entrepreneurs. But when businesses such as hotels are trying to spring back on their feet, what do you think the government can do or should do to help them to help fasten the process?
Right. So at the moment, like we already talked about, the how to help the employees. They also have to survive. So we worked out a deal. But now for the employers, what do we do?
Right.
So we have been, in very close contact with the concerned ministry, like our own ministry, tourism ministry and the finance ministry. And to be very, like not being negative, I have been approaching, the ministries, and I have not been disappointed really. They have, they were approachable, they have understood. Of course, our wants and desires are never ending, but I must say that our voice has been heard.
So are there any specific concessions or aid packages that the government is providing to hoteliers?
Yeah, so like 5% interest, they've lowered the interest, and the restructuring, rescheduling, even like the electric demand charge, which we went forward, when we approached them, the land taxes. So all these have been heard, but believe me, it's not enough because because we thought 2020 would be what we needed, but now 2021 is we need more help.
Right.
So we are optimistic. We know that the government will hear our issues, our problem, and we will again come up with a win-win situation.
So along with the support from the government, does the hotel industry or HANS specifically have any strategies in place to help hotels, get back on their feet quicker as the association?
One, of course, is always the financial factor, which, of course, is always dealt with the Nepal Rashtra Bank and the ministry. So that has been worked on, and we just haven't left any stone undone. But so we've just moved and we've never given up. So that has worked out well. Now, to bounce back, what I feel is there are three things which is extremely important, which I keep talking whenever I meet the concerned people, is one is the identification of the product, which we are a little bit jumbled up, because in Nepal what I always feel is the system, the structure, systematic we never work, and that becomes a very big problem in a country like Nepal, where what don't we have? I think we all consider ourselves to be born in Nepal, in a country which is so beautiful. We've been, identified as a fifth destination to travel in Lonely Planet. 19 out of 25 destination to visit in TripAdvisor. So, we have the product. We are rich in,
biodiversity.
Yeah, we have so much. But it's just that we have not been able to go systematically. I always feel, Sadiq Shah, sometimes, there's always a reason for everything. I think this is a time for us to really sit down and look back to say, we have what we talk about, but where have we been going wrong? So, तीनटा कुरा मैले जहिले पनि I keep mentioning is one, product identification. Now, Pradesh को products हरु के हो? त्यो products हरुको identification, and then you categorize that. And what is that tourism? Is it adventure, luxury, Buddhist circuit, Hindu circuit? So that hasn't been really systemized well. We work very closely with Nepal Tourism Board, and of course they do understand what we are talking about. So that they've been trying to work on it. But imagine not to work on that for so long, which is such a shame. And then also to market that product in the right destination.
Right.
So, and then, we go and we say we are marketing Nepal, but we have to always make sure that we market it well. And that is when you go to that particular country, you have to make sure who's your right partner to market that product to which group partner.
Right.
So those are very important.
So the pandemic sort of can also be taken as a blessing in disguise to get all of this sorted so that
out,
when the market really opens up, we're ready with a bang, right?
Right.
So also, do you think that hotel and restaurant, this hospitality sector in this era of social distancing really, stand a chance? And how can we actually maintain social distance? Because it is the need of the hour. We need to operate businesses, but we also need to follow rules, regulations and protocols. So do you think they can go hand in hand? And how can they go hand in hand?
See, I'm not saying that they're going to do really well. But at the same time, I feel that they can break even, because when you have a good product, that market is right here, right? So when we talk about banquet business, we rely on the domestic market. Of course, oil liquor situation, that has been hit very badly. But at the same time, see, the eating out concept has gone so high.
Right.
I remember when we were growing up, we hardly ate,
outside.
But now I see, you all eat out, exactly what you want, what cuisine you want. Right. So if your product is very good, social distancing is there, you can maintain that. All the protocols have to be fulfilled. You have to assure the guest that you are abiding by all the rules and regulation, and that they are safe, to give them that assurance that they are safe coming to your restaurant. And apart from that, all these home delivery service, I think is doing brilliantly well. When I was talking to my friend in England, it was the same thing. They were all doing the home delivery, and to my surprise, the way the home delivery, all that has picked up, that is a huge support for the restaurants at the moment.
And also, again, using the same term, blessing in disguise, if probably the pandemic hadn't happened, it would have taken a really long time for all this food delivery system to also be in place. And, this pandemic is really fast-tracked, I must say, all of this.
Yes.
Now, also coming to banquet business, Nepal is a really popular destination for MICE. But now with this global pandemic that has happened, and with people domestically and internationally also getting so used to doing video calls and conferences via Zoom, what do you think the future will be like for these events?
We have very short-term memory. If you think that, when that earthquake happened in Nepal, we thought, oh my God, how will we ever bounce back? Will we ever come back to normal? Was something that we would always question. But it didn't take very long and we bounced back, right? So I personally feel, whenever there is a dip, it has to come up. Now, of course, at the moment, the MICE business is not, is not the right time. But then, when your MICE business it's like getting out of your comfort zone and in a different environment. And believe me, Sadiksha, when things get normal, people will start traveling, because it's in us. Traveling is become part of our life. It's not even luxury now. You need to switch off. You need to take that break. So likewise, even the MICE business, when things get all right, when people are vaccinated, that's the first thing they want to do, is to get into an environment where you can switch off from your day-to-day work and do that brainstorming and come up with fantastic solutions and, all that. So that, I think, in my opinion, is a matter of time, but it will come back.
It's just on a pause and hold at the moment, but as soon as things start, again, Nepal will be a fantastic destination for MICE events. The hospitality industry pre-pandemic was booming. Even in Nepal, we see so many hospitality schools opening up. We had so many youth who wanted to be a part of this industry. Do you think because of this COVID, the students who are enrolled currently in those hospitality schools and students who wish to be a part of this industry, do you think they're shaken a bit?
Earlier when you went to a hotel management school like I did, we always knew that we had to go and join a hotel industry. Now it's not that. When you do that, take up that course, the degree or diploma you finish, people have started going into their own business also. So, not all students now start relying on really joining the hotel industry or the restaurant, but they start becoming entrepreneurs. And that itself, when you do that training, it's a support. So I don't see that they have to be, relying on the hotels as such, but with that degree, they have other openings also.
Other avenues will
Yes.
also open up for them. You did mention, and I do agree, that once things go back to normal, there'll be an inflow of tourists. We'll also be traveling out and all of that. But still, with this pandemic that is so deadly, I think it's also really shaken us to the core, and as travelers, made us question our own decisions that we take, following all these health protocols, rules, regulations, everything. How do you think moving forward, post-pandemic, when the hospitality industry does open up, what kind of travel and safety protocols, will there be a change in all of that?
There will definitely be a change, because the world has actually moved, and with the Nepal Tourism Board, with all our association, we've come together. We've already done the study of WHO, and those protocols are already done.
There, right.
So if we follow that protocol, if the government makes sure that the protocols are followed, this is another huge challenge in Nepal. What I always feel is we make rules, we make all the system standards, but then that follow-up and evaluation is not done. So this is becoming a bit of a problem. But if we follow that protocol, which we have done intensive work on that, and if we can give assurance to the visitors, I don't see there's any problem. But then there's another thing that has really Nepalma the domestic tourism, because when the other day I was interviewing Miss Nepal, I think Miss Tourism, right. So they had the minister had asked me to be one of the judge. And when I was talking to all these beautiful women, and the first question I asked is, what would be your favorite destination? Where would you go? And believe me, everybody said they wanted to look around in their own country. There was so much to see. But then the challenges are there, Sadiksha. The challenges are connectivity. The road, they call it a golden triangle, Pokhara and Chitwan, and yet we have difficulty driving there.
True.
We don't have proper sanitation. We are not confident about the food safety. So all these things have to be worked on. It's promoting a destination in Nepal is absolutely no problem.
True.
But it's the infrastructure that we really have to move fast. I'm not saying that it hasn't been done. The other day I was in Nepalganj and we drove to Bardea and the road was fantastic. But what I'm saying is, it has to move systematically. It has to be moved fast, because time doesn't wait. We're losing out a lot. I mean, Nepal domestic tourism is something that we are very hopeful about, but then there are too many challenges, and I think we haven't been able to work on time to develop all these destinations. So sometimes it becomes disappointing for the youth when they have so much enthusiasm that they want to go around Nepal, and yet there's so much of
difficulties
issues.
and challenges. The other day I heard a news where it said almost 21 arba rupees was being saved because Nepalese didn't really get an opportunity to travel, So that also really left me questioning that we have so much of money that people are actually spending when they go even outside of Nepal. So is there a possibility of that money also being spent inside of the country by Nepalese for Nepali businesses and hotels?
Right. You can. But the problem is, do you have the product is the question, So we have to come up and be able to come up to that standard. Sabai कुरा मिल्न पर्यो नि for me wanting to spend that amount of money. So, it's not a problem for having Nepalese spend that money, but then we also have to work on, the standards and, quality, everything. So that comes hand in hand.
So also there is a big debate on, Nepal is a fantastic destination for travelers to come in, but there's also a question on why is Nepal attracting more backpackers and not being able to attract high-end tourists. Now, in this regard also, is it better for the hospitality industry in Nepal to also maybe focus more on domestic tourism? Because I feel like Nepalese do spend a lot if you give them the right product.
Right. So in my experience, one is of course the domestic market where we can get that yield. Also, I feel that India and China could be the best destination for us. Our two strong neighbors on either side,
right.
And in my own experience, when they come, especially when the Indian comes, and they spend a lot of money because they like good food, they like to spend. So, we must not all the time think of, very far. We must target the closer, to
our
neighbors to
right.
come in. So those two destinations are also something that we should really focus on. Domestic tourism is there, and like you talk about the. We always talk. A lot of people talk about the backpackers now in Nepal vibe, and that is a mistake that we've made. Is because we have to stick to that rate, which we ourselves have spoiled it. Because in Sri Lanka, I'll just give you an example. Is the government like 5-star hotel, they have to pay the government that tax, which has to be minimum. You have to sell the hotel, so automatically the
rates go up, and there's a standard rate.
We spoil the market.
So
$44 per day is not a very good amount. There's a statistic where
right.
it says that
the minimum
tourist,
that a tourist spends
right,
is around 44.
right,
but that's true. I'm sure
right.
Nepal is a destination where high-end tourists,
right.
If you want to have breakfast
right.
looking at Mount Everest,
absolutely.
you can enjoy the best of wildlife. So $44 might not be enough
right.
for that. We really need to up that limit.
Yes, we need to really market it well. We need to keep that rate up. And one thing I also want to just share with you is, when one tourist come in, 10 Nepalese benefit. So, from the taxi driver to the vegetable supplier to, so it is it is an industry that gives so much of support to the country economy.
Definitely.
So, it's something that we really have to work, and there is so much of hope.
So looking at hope and silver linings, what lessons do you think as an industry, the hospitality sector can learn during this lockdown or because of this lockdown?
Right. At the moment, I think there are 2-3 things that we should really learn our lessons from. One is like reserve, because we have this habit of, whatever we earn, we tend to spend because, our operation cost is very, very high.
Right.
So internationally, we are, if you look at the the right figure, we are not on the right because our operation cost is very high. So this is a time where we have to really learn
how to manage that.
See, I'll give you an example, Sadisha. If you go to Europe and if you're in a restaurant, you see these 2 students serving 40 people in a restaurant. And you come to Nepal, you go to a restaurant, you see 10 of these people chatting behind the desk, have ample of time. So this is, that itself says that we don't have the correct,
proper management.
Yeah, proper management,
right.
You see. So the ratio una parsa employees
and
per
guest,
room,
right.
we are not doing, especially the old hotels have a very big problem. So this is a time for us to learn that, time for us to really upskill our employees, because that's also after the insurgency, what we really lacked is our service standard. Because when we started working in a hotel during the 80s, we had the work dignity. We didn't care about cleaning the bathrooms to washing the dishes. That's what this is the industry that we are in. But after the insurgency, when the union issue came, then it started affecting your service standard.
Right.
I think it's time for us now to invest on upscaling, all the employees. This is the best time. And then we have to also start working on keeping that reserves during the rainy days, how important it is, because there are so many things which is not predictable. And we've experienced that so many times. So that you have to be prepared,
How do you think hoteliers now can rethink this scenario that will help them grow their business also, even at a time like this? Are there possibilities to do that?
be prepared when the time is right, or you're talking about present situation?
So yes, the present situation, like for example, the pandemic, like you mentioned, how some employees are even, starting their own businesses or looking at this scenario as an opportunity. So for hoteliers as well, can they take this pandemic as an opportunity to grow? Is it possible?
I don't see why not, because, there is so much to offer. But the thing is that you have to be prepared. So take this time, like I said, to evaluate, what are the potential. We talked about the rates, how we should now, when the time is right, how to bring up the rate. Refurbishing is the right time for all the hotels to do right now, because I always feel that there's a lot of money invested in hotel business, because I go to a lot of these chapters. We have 15 chapters in, the Hotel Association. So when I go there, I go to all their, businesses. When I see there, a lot of money is spent, but I feel the quality is not there. So even the owners have to know that you can invest, but you are not the trained person there, you see. True. So invest the money, get the right person to run it, encourage the youth to come in, Once they join, don't forget to upskill them. There's, it's a never-ending thing.
Process,
so all that is there. Then I could talk about the food quality and standard, Standard, of course, has to meet as per your, the category. You have to follow that. But then apart from that, look at how much, food. So we have so much of place where we can really improve on that, and we have. Right. We can't say we haven't. Look at the organic market. Look at the choices that we have today.
Definitely.
I mean, from when you look back 20 years back and to see where we are when it comes to food, I mean, we've really gone ahead. And I always feel food is something you never go wrong.
True.
I mean, and then we to add to that, again the Malachike Laxman, tourism, agriculture can also go hand in hand. Yeah. Earlier, a farmer's son was embarrassed to be known as a farmer's son, wherein in Australia, a farmer's son took a pride to say, I'm a farmer's son. But I think now over the years, we've realized that, farming, all that is, agriculture is another, area where we can really do well. So on the whole, why don't we just say this, that food is where we should really invest, and food never goes wrong.
The industry currently is in a crisis mode, but without any limitations, post-COVID, if you could imagine the scenario of the hospitality industry in Nepal, how would you imagine it to be? My last question.
I feel that lessons are, there's I always say reason for everything. There's always reason for everything. There are a lot of lessons to be learned. Now I think people will, when the time is right, I think they're going to strike and they're going to do it so well, because they've got enough time to really rethink, and then preparation pani bhayo, evaluate where they've gone wrong. And I think if we all come together to see how we can work together, whether it's the government, whether it's the ministry or Nepal Tourism Board. But, all I say is there is a lack in that, communication. There's a gap. There is a gap in that system. So if we can strengthen that, if we can come together, we've seen examples of so many countries who have
bounced back, yeah.
And then, even in Nepal, I mean, we can't say that we've failed. We've been a success story. True. So all I can say is that in the coming days, I'm sure things will be better.
Definitely. In the coming days, we hope our ranking as a country in all these different portals will also go up, and will be the #1 destination for travel throughout the world. Thank you so much for taking your time out and being with us.
Pleasure. Thank you.
We had a lovely conversation with Ms. Shreejana Rana, who is the President of Hotel Association Nepal. I'm sure this interview would give you lots of good hopes for an industry that is definitely the hardest hit industry during this pandemic. So with this, we've come towards the end of another episode of Nepal Next. I'll definitely see you guys next week with another brilliant guest.